All right, welcome to Rat Salad Review Radio on freeworld.fm. Today I am joined by Victor how are we going to pronounce your name here? Why do I always
Uh,
forget how to pronounce your name? Maritsas.
Maritza.
Maritsas.
Yes,
All right.
Maritzas.
I'm terrible. And everybody knows that watches my show on YouTube and listens to this. I am terrible at pronouncing names.
I'm right with you.
And your name really ain't that hard, but yeah, you even had a problem with my keyboard's name too, Muchnick.
Oh yeah, I totally botched his. And
Yeah,
so
yeah. But how are you doing? We just saw
good.
you a couple of days ago. You interviewed my band, and I thought maybe come on my radio show here and we'll talk about some music. So how are you doing?
Yeah, right on. Yeah. Great interview with you guys. Yeah, always wonderful talking to you, Wayne, of course, and your band is great. And yeah, super excited for the new album you guys have coming out here pretty quickly.
Mm,
I pre-ordered on CD, so I can't wait to get my grubby little hands on that thing.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Yeah, just rocking and rolling and drinking some frosty beers and listening to Severed Angel. So,
Very cool, very cool. Yeah, I hope I get those CDs very soon. I'm waiting myself. I don't know what's going on.
uh,
Somebody else is handling it from another country. Somebody I know, like the guy we get distribution from,
okay.
he knows the person who makes the CDs. So I'm just waiting on that person to send them to me. But they're in another country, so that's going to take forever. So hopefully they come soon. I know they're being worked on, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So,
Fingers crossed.
yeah. You never know. You never know what the music industry, what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's a weird industry. It's a
It is. You never.
yeah,
You don't know who you can trust,
right.
and the people you do think you can trust, you end up finding out you can't trust
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I like that. I'm not a musician, so I don't get too much into that, but I've
them.
tasted it a little bit.
Yeah.
And with me it's usually been like, industry people,
Hmm.
record industry people where I've had some run-ins, or just some pushback or things like that, or weird, I don't know, weird ego trips.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's what, like when Severed Angel first got that record label deal or whatever, and then we found out that's the whole scam thing, and that kind of just like soured us on even working with anybody else, and just like I'd rather do everything. We'd rather do everything on our own. But it's hard even for fans like us that want to do things on our own to try to get your music out there. And like our last video that we put out, it was so good, and I really wanted to get more views. It's just hard. It's hard to get the people to watch stuff. No matter how many things that we post on social media, it doesn't get the word out. I don't know what else to do.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's a weird beast. And especially with it seems like, specifically with like, Facebook and Instagram where they've changed the algorithms
Oh, it's
and
on like a
'cause it
weekly
used to
basis.
be, yeah, and it seemed like I used to get a lot more, and you probably same thing. I used to get a lot more views or a lot more likes, and all of a sudden it's just dropped drastically.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe people are sick of me. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. I was reading. I found a thing online. I said I was looking up something that would teach me how to get more views and stuff on YouTube and stuff like that. So I
Okay.
was going through all the steps. It's saying write all these things in the description, and then now there's a thing where you got to write in the title. You put brackets on the title, and you say like it's an interview or whatever. Like, what is that going to do?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's just so stupid. But I don't know. I'm trying it to see if it works, and we'll see what happens.
Well, good luck to you, sir.
Yeah.
Hope.
But good
Yeah,
luck to you.
all people need to see your video.
I know everybody needs to see that video. That guy put such hard work into the animation and everything, and it's very fun. And a lot of people need to see that. A lot more people, because one of our videos were up to like 13,000 already.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah, and that was just an AI video that I just threw together.
Wow. That's wild. That's
Yeah,
good.
I
Wow.
know. But how or where can people find you and your podcast? What is your podcast about? Because we really haven't discussed your podcast on this
Oh
show.
yeah, sure. So yeah, I'm on YouTube. Just if you look up Brews and Tunes, and it's kind of funny because the only reason I even have the YouTube channel, it really was so I could post videos on my Facebook page. That's my main page,
Mm.
is Brews and Tunes on Facebook. And and it started where I mainly pair craft beer with metal and hard rock albums. Um, And then I started doing interviews, and especially when the pandemic hit,
Mm.
that's when I really started ramping up video interviews, Zoom interviews. And so yeah, so you can find me on YouTube, and I'm on Instagram. And yeah, if you just type in Brews and Tunes, you'll usually find me pretty quickly. I usually am at the top of the list. But yeah, so yeah, sorry, what was the question?
Where can people find you to watch your show? But you answered
Oh,
that on
yeah, yeah.
Facebook and YouTube and everything. And how long have you been doing that? Because I
Oh,
never heard of you until like we had the interview with you. So how long?
yeah, I started a long time ago. Well, with the beer pairing thing, I started that in December of 2011.
Oh
If you can
wow.
believe it, it was a long time ago. Yeah, my kids were pretty young and they're
Mm.
adults now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was quite a long time ago. But the interview thing, and I did interviews back then, but they were written interviews. There was
Okay.
like an email interview kind of a thing where I'd send questions to musicians and they'd send me back. But then it was, I started doing the Zoom interviews again, like it was like, yeah, 2020.
Mm.
Um, been focusing a lot on that more so, and work with, I think, some similar people that you work with in the industry to get interviews,
Mm.
promoters. So,
Yeah.
and it's been a lot of fun, and it's been great. I mean, that's actually how I discovered your band,
Mm.
uh, was through a promoter, which was great because yeah, as you know, I have I'm enthralled with Severed Angel. So yeah, so it was really cool. And I love discovering new music, especially new metal music. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's been a great avenue for me in terms of learning about new stuff. And I think also just people, just networking with like you and
Oh yeah.
Ken Pike and people like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And Ralph too. You've been on the
Yeah,
Almost
Ralph.
Human
Yeah,
show
of
too.
course. Yeah, yeah.
And he's got so many followers on it. It's insane. And
Yeah, he's like the
yeah.
godfather.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Like I only found him by chance. He was in I think in another group, a King Diamond group actually, because I just started doing a King Diamond podcast, and I saw
Oh,
him doing a lot of talk about King Diamond. Then I found out he was a podcaster. So then I said, "Oh, come on my show because we can cross promote." Then I found out how many people he's got. I'm like, Jesus Christ! I'm like nobody. This guy's got like thousands and thousands of people. So I actually back then he didn't have as many as he does now, but it was still like insane to see what his channel has grown into. And we've
yeah.
done a lot of cover songs with him too, and it's been a lot of fun. He's a really cool guy and everything. So
Yeah, yeah,
just
very
glad to meet
entertaining.
him and glad to meet you, and sitting here doing this show together.
Cool. Right on.
Yeah.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah. And today we're gonna do a show, and actually you gave me this idea.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
I've seen other people do it, but since I know I've been wanting to do a show with you, and I've been seeing all the things that you've been posting about your influences, the album influences that you've had over the years, I wanted to do a show about that, and we're going to do that right now.
Right on. I'm excited.
So we're going to go through the influences, and then we're going to pick a song off of each of those albums. All
Okay.
right. So
Perfect.
yeah, so this is really cool. I've seen a lot of people have been doing this lately. I try to join in, but there's just so much time in a day. I don't have all that time.
Yeah,
You know.
I think what I did was because I took actual photographs of the
Yeah, I
album
saw that. Yeah.
rather than but I did it all in one day. Like it was I was down here in my studio
Mm.
on like a Saturday drinking some beers and just grabbed 25 albums and the action figure, because I have all these because I'm a child. I have all these action figures, like Iron Maiden action figures, all
Oh
that kind
yeah.
of stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I did all, set it all up and yeah, just banged them all out, and then dumped them on my computer and each day would post.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's what I do.
made it easy.
Oh yeah, definitely. I did that. I used to be like really big with TikTok, and I kind of like died down. It just I don't know. I'm kind of sick of it now. But I was doing that. I was taking a lot of videos and a lot of stuff all in one day, and then just uploading it each day. But I collect toys too. I'm a little nerd. Actually, behind
Oh,
my Funko Pop figures here is all those Super 7 figures. So there's like King Diamond and Judas Priest stuff back there.
yeah, right on.
Yeah, I got to do a lot of organizing because there's a lot of stuff in here I can't even find anymore.
You have a lot of stuff in there. Yeah.
I do, and I have a couch behind me, and there's just stuff piled up on there. All right, but we're not talking about my dirty dungeon down here. We're talking about our our albums that influenced us. Since we've gotten into music. What is your? We're not going to do this in any order, but
Okay.
what is your first album that you're going to?
I thought I'd start with Black Sabbath.
Okay.
And this one's really easy. I'm doing the song Black Sabbath from Black Sabbath, the album.
Yeah.
So, and really where that came from was, I guess it was high school. I was, way into Led Zeppelin. I still love Led Zeppelin. I was a massive Led Zeppelin fan. Like that was my band.
Hmm.
And there was this kid, I guess, at the time everybody called them Hessians. There was this, he had long hair, he smoked a lot of dope, and I didn't know him very well, but he lockered by me, and he'd see me with like Led Zeppelin t-shirts on, and and I had long hair, and so one day he just came up to me and just said, "Hey, do you listen to Black Sabbath?" I'm like, oh, I know who they are. He's like, "You should check out the first album." I'm like, okay. So I think like that weekend I went and found, the tape
Mm.
of Black Sabbath and put it on, and just yeah, that opening, with the thunder and the bells, and I just like whoa, and just the
Yeah.
heavy, like it was just so heavy. It was just so heavy, and it just blew me away. I'm like, wow, I'm into this. This is cool.
Yeah. Now, was it Ozzy's vocals that you're into? Was it the guitars or the drums, or just the whole
I
package itself?
I think it was the whole package. It was, I mean, just, I mean, one, I think for me, particularly, it was Tony's guitar work on, especially just I'd never heard anything like that before, and just
Mm.
something that doomy, and heavy. I'd never really listened to anything like that. Excuse me, at that time.
Mhm.
So it just was, it just floored me. I'm like, wow, this is like everything I want in a band.
Right, right, right.
Which I think a lot of people, I'm sure, have kind of a similar story with, when they first heard Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
But yeah, just that opening, that intro, that opening, just yeah, kind of floored me. So
Yeah, yeah, real cool. I did not get into Sabbath earlier on. It came like way later on. I've always heard stuff on the radio, and I like the stuff I heard. Iron Man, and then I forgot what else they used to play on the radio all the time. But I like those
okay,
songs. And then,
Paranoid.
yeah, Paranoid. Yep. And I just, for some reason, just really never got into it. My friends really never talked about Black Sabbath in school. It was always other bands. For some reason, I don't know why, Black Sabbath was rarely ever talked about. But maybe 15 or so years ago, I was at a music store and they had that the box of like the 8 CDs. It was like a
Oh
box
yeah.
set. So I ended up buying that because I had no Black Sabbath. So I'm like, all right, it was on sale, not on sale, but it was used, so it was pretty cheap. So I was like, all right, if I'm gonna get Black Sabbath, I might as well just get this because they're all in there, you know. And I listened to it, and I just feel so stupid of like skipping Black Sabbath for like almost my whole life. It's so dumb. And because they got so much great stuff, and like you said, that first album, man, it just so many great songs on there, and just how evil that song Black Sabbath sounds. That's like that's Satan. That's his theme song. You know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It just sweats and breathes evil.
Yeah.
It's just perfect. And what's so funny too, this is ridiculous. So I hadn't, so I said, this guy introduced me to the music, but I had actually seen the old Boris Karloff movie Black Sabbath, where they got their name like as a kid and thought it was cool.
Right.
And I was always kind of curious, like, I wonder if Black Sabbath, I wonder if there's some sort of relationship there. Why they, like,
Right.
oh yeah, of course, yeah, so they saw the movie too, as
Yeah.
probably young guys, and went, oh, we should name ourselves Black Sabbath, because I guess they were what, Earth before that.
Yeah. 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 Yep. Hmm. Yeah. If I'm not really big on the whole history of Black Sabbath, although I did buy a book of Black Sabbath the other day. I really should read it. I'm going to talk about actually the first band or first heavy, I guess. Well, at the time it was heavy metal, I guess, or maybe hard rock, because the band Def Leppard was
Hmm.
huge back in 1987 with the album Hysteria. I was
Oh
only
yeah.
7 years old, and it was, of course, I loved Led Zeppelin. And I should have put them on my list. I don't know why. I just completely forgot about Led Zeppelin, but they should have been on my list. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll change this. Um, Actually, because Def Leppard was hugely influenced by Led Zeppelin, so that made me go back and check out Led Zeppelin. And but everything in my life at 7 years old was Def Leppard, Def Leppard, Def Leppard, and I don't know how many different versions of the Hysteria album I've owned over the years. Cassettes, I probably owned about 10 different versions because I listened to that thing so many times, and it just burnt it out and whatever. So I just Hysteria just meant so much to me, and it's just it's just one of those albums. Today it sounds a little dated. I don't know. Are you a Def Leppard fan?
I am, and yeah, I'm feeling a little old because I was in high school when that album came out. So,
Really? Okay, yeah.
but I mean, yeah, no big deal. I mean, yeah, whatever, it's
I
no big
was
deal. But
only
yeah,
in
but
like second
it
grade.
was such a huge album. It was. I remember, yeah, driving around with some kids in a car, and somebody in the, I think it was my friend's girlfriend had purchased it. And we're just driving, like teenagers, you just drive around aimlessly. And
Mhm.
yeah, somebody stuck it in the cassette deck, and I'm like, "Well, what is this?" Like, and I knew who Def Leppard was, but because I had been a fan since the earlier days,
Mhm.
with High and Dry. I guess High and Dry was the one that I got into first, and
Right.
then I remember buying Pyromania on tape when it came out, and then yeah, um, uh, when that album came out, it was just so big. It was such a huge, I mean, everybody. It was weird because like all of us rocker kids, liked it,
Mhm.
but then like I mean, like the jocks were into it and the cheerleaders were listening to it. I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah.
So
And then the parents started listening to it. It was
yeah,
like
yeah,
everybody, you
exactly.
know?
Yeah, it was huge.
Yeah, it really took over my life. And even though High and Dry is my favorite Def Leppard album, Hysteria just holds that special place in my heart, I guess I could say, because that's just where my musical journey has started. Rick Allen losing his arm and playing the drums with actually he didn't even play on Hysteria. That after I I read not too long ago actually. Did you even know that? He really didn't even play
No.
the drums. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
I
so
did not.
they're all like programmed drums or whatever on that album. So yeah, I don't know, I'm just rambling here, but my favorite song off of this album is Gods of War. I
Oh
this
yeah.
the song
Killer.
Rocket, yeah, it is a killer song. The song Rocket though kind of started me because that's when I started wanting to play drums. That's a very drummy song. There's a lot of drum stuff going on in that one. But the song Gods of War, my God, I went back to that song all the time. It's just it was also the first song that also threw in like the news clips, that I've ever heard put into a song. Like who was it? Ronald Reagan, all those news clips and all the war and shit
Yeah.
that was going on. I just thought that was so cool, and to hear that within the music, and then it just blew my mind. Just so much in that song that just it's just an awesome song. It's just one of my
Yeah.
top favorite all time songs ever.
Yeah.
You know,
Great song. Well, it's interesting too, that song, because the rest of the album, has some
it's
pop
yeah,
leanings to some
yeah,
degree.
it's
Where
more of a happy out sounding album, except for maybe Love Bites. That's kind of like dark or whatever. But that's one song I hate. If there's a song I could throw away, it's that one.
yeah, like Gods of War, I thought was cool because it even sounds almost like old Def Leppard.
Right.
It could fit on one of their older albums,
Oh
I
yeah,
think.
yeah, I think so
And
too.
I wonder if it was maybe a leftover from Pyromania because it has the same kind of vibe in
True.
my.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that, but yeah, it probably could have fit on there. All right, Victor, it's your turn. What do you
All
got?
right. And again, yeah, no specific order, just kind of throwing some stuff out there. So my next one is Judas Priest, and we're gonna go with the album Sin After Sin and the song
Oh,
Dissident Aggressor.
no,
Kind of going a little deep,
yeah,
a little deeper. I've always loved this song since I first heard it. I don't even remember when that was. It was many, many moons ago. And I love the Slayer cover of it as
hmm,
well. And that actually might have been the first time I heard it was actually Slayer covering it, to be
really.
honest. I'm not sure. My memory is a bit fuzzy, but
So
I don't, I
did you
always
get
loved it.
in, did you get into Judas Priest a little bit later on then, or you just didn't hear that album?
I guess I didn't hear that some of the earlier albums until like because yeah, like I was listening to Screaming for Vengeance and and Turbo and all the
Right,
80s.
right, right.
That's when I got into Judas Priest, and I knew a little. I'd heard some of the earlier stuff, but kind of more the hits.
Mm,
Whereas like Sin After Sin is it just wasn't on my radar. It's not, at least here where I live, I never heard any of those songs on the radio ever.
yeah.
Um, and I love the entire album, but when the first time I heard Dissonant Aggressor, I was just like, whoa, this is so cool. I don't know. I just love it. It's got a kind of a spacey vibe to it. And I remember the first time I saw them live, which I don't remember what year that was, they played it And yeah, I was it, and it still like just resonated more so than anything else on. And that tour with it was great. It was a great tour, and it was, great show, but for some reason that song just stuck like in my head. I'm like, this is so cool.
Yeah,
um yeah, I don't know, I always have loved it, so.
yeah. I remember I think we did actually we did a Judas Priest first Iron Maiden show on
Hmm.
the YouTube channel. And
Oh yeah, that's right.
when we got up to that album, I just that album, I don't know, it's just so weak to me. To be the debut Judas Priest album on a big record label, especially
Yeah,
coming after Rock and Rolla and Sad Wings of Destiny, and then they put that out. I'm like, oh my God, what happened? They kind of like
yeah,
lost their balls a little bit. It's like,
yeah, they did, except for Dissonant Aggressor.
except for this, and yeah, there are some good songs on there, but like sound wise, it just got like weak in a way. I don't know. It's hard to describe.
Yeah, yeah, the production on that album's a little. Yeah, I agree. I think it
It's very thin sounding.
yeah, it does. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was the cocaine. Who knows?
Who knows? Who knows? All right, Victor, it's my turn.
All right,
Are you ready
take
for
it
this
away.
one? Are you
I
ready?
am ready.
I'm gonna go with Metallica.
Right on.
Yeah, who can't go with Metallica? I mean, if you're a metalhead, Metallica is like the first band you ever heard in your life. I think,
Yeah, yeah,
really.
always.
But I remember when I was younger, I saw the video for one, scared the living shit out of me because the video, the guy's in the bed and he's got no arms and legs and he's just sitting there nodding his head and making all these, actually he ain't even making any sounds. He's just nodding his head in SOS, and then it's a very disturbing video,
Yeah,
for about maybe a 7 to 8 year old child to see, you know.
yeah.
So I kind of like got away from Metallica. I didn't want to have anything to do with Metallica, but then they came out with Enter Sandman, and
Hmm.
that song was so freaking catchy. I just couldn't
Oh,
stop listening to it. I couldn't stop listening. And it's just funny because everybody hates a lot of the metalheads, poser metalheads. Yes, you're all posers that hate the Black Album. Um, I don't get it. I understand it. Metallica sold out, whatever. But you know what? Who wouldn't? You're seeing all that money. You got to live. You want to have retirement when
yeah,
you get older. Of course, you're gonna try to appease to a broader audience, and which is
yeah,
what the Black Album did. And listening to Enter Sandman, yeah, that just set me on that journey to really get into more heavy metal, because Def Leppard was it for me at the time, and then Metallica and Enter Sandman was just like, oh my God, this is even heavier. Def Leppard by that time, Steve Clark had already passed away, I think, right? Yeah, yeah,
yes,
he passed away, and Def Leppard was kind of like on hiatus, and there was like I didn't have anything else to listen to, so Metallica was like the next best thing for me, and I'll never forget seeing that Enter Sandman video on MTV. But I'm not picking Enter Sandman,
Hmm.
even though it got me into Metallica. I'm gonna go
Okay.
back to the song that scared the shit out of me.
Nice.
I'm going back to one, only because after getting the album and listening to that song, and just starting to get into drums too. The drums in that song are friggin' just awesome, and you got that iconic part towards like the end of the song with Lars doing the double bass thing.
Yeah,
Every drummer has to play that double bass part. Everybody's got to try to emulate that sound, even with the clicky bass drum sound too. Everybody at that time had to have that sound,
yeah. Oh yeah.
and it's just so influential sounding and everything. And I would actually go and rent that movie, Johnny Got His Gun, and I did watch it. My grandfather watched it. He knew about it, so he told me a lot about it. It's a sick movie. Did you ever see that movie?
I think, yeah, I don't remember it very well. I know I saw it. I maybe I blocked it out because it was upsetting.
It's
So,
it's very very dark movie, but
yeah, yeah.
I see, it fits with the song. That's what the song's about anyway, but it fits with the video and everything like that. So it's very cool. Victor, guess what? It's your turn.
All right. Cool. Um, all right. So my next one is and it's interesting. This is not I struggle with this. I don't struggle with this band. This is I love this band. Probably my favorite heavy metal band. Um, I struggle with picking I struggle with picking an album and a song because there's so much material to go with. What I decided to do was go with what I bought first rather than necessarily my favorite. So I'm going with Iron Maiden,
Okay.
Killers, and the song Killers. So I at the time when I bought this, it was many, many years ago. I was familiar with Iron Maiden, but I wasn't really into them yet. And
Mm.
I had my friend's older brother. I had heard Peace of Mind, and I think I'd heard because he would play that, and I'd heard Number of the Beast and Power Slave, and I thought it was interesting. I'm like, but I didn't really get it really yet. And then I don't know what possessed me. I was just out, like out buying tapes or whatever, and I saw Killers, and I just like, damn, man, that album cover is so cool. And
Yeah.
I was kind of just transfixed by it. And I'm like, I'm gonna buy this. So I took it home, and I loved it, and just particularly the song Killers. I love the intro.
Oh, yeah.
I love Paul Diano's like screaming vocals, and that's
Mm.
probably one of the songs where he got back the highest, in terms of vocal,
Yeah.
his vocals. And
Oh, yeah.
I just was blown away by that album. And particularly that song, and just, yeah, I just love it. It's still one of my favorites, always will be. But I mean, as much as I love pretty much all of, and I'll admit, I'm a fanboy. Like they can do
Mm.
no wrong. Like they could do a fucking Christmas album. And oops, sorry, I can't swear, can I?
Of course you can. This doesn't matter.
Okay, sorry. This radio, so I'm like, oh, I can't swear.
That's all right.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they could do a Christmas. I mean, I'm not into Christmas music necessarily, but yeah, if they
Yeah.
did that, I'd still buy it.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, but Killers, I don't know what it would just. I just thought that was, the lyrics are great. It's haunting. It's kind of got this Jack the Ripper vibe to it,
Mm.
and I don't know, and the artwork, of course, Derek Riggs, can't beat Derek Riggs.
Yeah.
Everything about it, just I love it. Love it.
Yeah. It's such good stuff. And I remember my grandfather gave me the jacket, the record jacket for that album. And
Oh, nice.
unfortunately, the record was not in it. So
Oh
for years, I just had to look at the record on my wall. I loved Iron Maiden. I just never heard that album. And then finally, when I started buying CDs and stuff, I would finally actually. Did I get the Castle reissue on that one? I think I did. I have it now, but I don't know if I bought it that one at that time. But when I finally got to hear it, I'm like, oh my god, this album's so good. Oh, those first two albums are so good. Those are probably my favorite Iron Maiden albums. In general, really. They're so different. They're so punky, raw sounding, and Paul Diano's vocals are just awesome. And I wish there was just one more Paul Diano album.
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't. We didn't have enough of Paul Diano.
No, no, yeah. Do you have the Soundhouse tapes
Yeah,
album?
yep, I have that as well. Yeah,
That one's really cool.
yeah, that's a
But
good
yeah,
one.
I mean, it's all the same material, but yeah, it's
Right,
too bad
yeah,
it wasn't more. There
yeah,
wasn't more. Yeah.
yeah. And even some of the some of the stuff Paul Diano went to do after Iron Maiden, just it wasn't as good. I mean, there's some cool songs here and there, but it just didn't hold up like the Iron Maiden stuff did.
Yeah, there's just I think that magic of those specific musicians
Yeah,
together at that time. It
yeah,
was just, yeah, perfect storm.
yeah, definitely. Halloween.
Oh
Any,
yeah, great
yeah,
band.
anybody that has watched my YouTube show or even this show knows that Halloween is my favorite band because I just have countless album records, CDs, tapes. I got posters of Halloween stuff. Just an overabundance of Halloween stuff. Although I don't have the most, I'm in a Halloween collectors group on Facebook. I don't know if you saw it or at all,
Oh no.
but everybody shares their stuff, and there's a couple guys on there that just have everything. It's just like, where do you put all this stuff?
Right.
They're crazy. A lot of guys have shirts and stuff like that. I try to keep up, but it's just so much stuff.
Yeah.
But I remember, was it what?
Oh, so I was say they're a bit of a marketing machine. I mean, they're no Kiss, but they
No,
put
no.
out a lot of, and not, I'm not criticizing in any way. They put out a lot of, like, because yeah, I follow their pages, like the
Yeah.
Halloween official pages, and yeah, they put out so many T-shirts and memorabilia. I mean, it's great, but it's like, yeah, like you're saying, like, how do you keep up
You
with
can't keep
this?
up. It's like the band Ghosts too. They have so many things. There's a shirt for every song. It's like enough
Yeah,
already.
exactly.
But yeah, Halloween is like that. Not as bad, like you said, not as bad as Kiss, but between like the Japanese releases and everything, I have it
Oh,
all. It's insane. But I remember back in, I think it was 1991 ish, 92. A friend of mine, he goes, "You got to hear this band." Because his brother listened to heavy metal and he had all these cassettes, most of them like copied from other people and stuff like that. But he would let me borrow them or he would copy stuff from me. And the one cassette, the first cassette that he gave me was Keeper of the Seven Keys Part Two. He's like, "You got to listen
Nice.
to this. You After you listen to this, you're gonna stop listening to Metallica." I said, "Yeah, okay, shut up." He goes, "Because Metallica, all their songs are really long and they're boring and whatever. And Halloween, they got fast songs and they're really good." So of course, I get home, I put on Keeper of the Seven Keys Part Two, and I hear the intro for Eagle Fly Free, and then the song kicks in, and it's just melodies all over the place, and it's so fast, and the guitar solos and the bass solo in the middle of that song, and
Yeah.
the vocals. I've never heard that kind of vocal. I mean, I heard Bruce Dickinson, obviously, but I never heard anybody else that was kind of could do like what Bruce Dickinson did at
Yeah.
the time. And I'm just like, what am I listening to right now? Just it blew me away. And ever since then, they have been my favorite band in the entire world.
Right on.
they,
I love Halloween. I love that. I've only seen them once live, and
yeah.
it was later. It was the I can't remember what tour it was. It must have been sorry, I'm trying to place a year on it. It
Well, what
was
album do you remember the album?
yeah, what album was it? I'm trying to I can't see my CDs from here. It's the snow and the oh, I
Oh, God
can't.
Given Right.
Yes, God given right.
Oh,
That I
that's
thought
late.
that. Yeah, yeah, very late. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's because they never come here,
Right, right,
and
right.
and I can see why there was nobody there, which was ridiculous, and it was
Really?
a small place. I felt really
Wow.
bad for them because I mean, there was a decent crowd, but
Yeah,
they should have been. I mean, they were these guys play Bakken, they play stadiums, and they're
right.
it's Utah, so yeah, there was
Yeah,
nobody there really, and they put on an amazing show. They still played their hearts out as if they were playing to a giant crowd,
oh
a
yeah,
huge.
yeah, yeah.
And yeah, and I had been listening to them for a while, but that was the first and only time I've ever seen them live. That's the first. I don't think they ever come here, and it was
Yeah,
incredible. They were
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, they're so good. I saw them probably about maybe 8 times already.
Oh,
And
nice.
the one time I got to see them, I was right on the front of the stage too. That place was really, really small. And actually they played maybe about 45 minutes from me. So it was very odd where they played too, because it was a full place. The place was packed, but it was very small.
Hmm.
But that it was like one of the best experiences I've ever had. It just, getting to see them up close and personal like that.
Yeah,
And then to see that this lineup that from the Keepers Part Two era is kind of back together, except for the drummer because he passed away. But seeing that these guys are pretty much back together now, it's just awesome.
yeah,
And and to hear Michael Kiske as well, just still singing the same way he sang on Keepers albums.
yeah, yeah. That's amazing. Yeah, that his voice is still solid. I
Yeah,
mean,
I don't know how he's done that. I mean, maybe because he hasn't sang that much over the years and he got to preserve his vocals. But
yeah, maybe I don't know. Yeah,
yeah,
he's incredible. He's an amazing singer. Yeah, and I love what the band is now. I thought
yeah,
the self-titled most recent self-titled album was
yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah,
Fantastic album.
yeah, it's good, and I like too how they didn't try to go back to like to early albums. I like how they just continued to do what they were doing already.
Yeah.
They didn't try to live on like past like Keeper's sound and stuff like that. You just went ahead and did what Halloween was doing at the time, and I'm interested to see what that next album is going to sound like because I hope it's a little bit better. I like the Halloween album, but I expected a little bit more.
Hmm.
But it is what it is. But right now, we're gonna go hear "Eagle Fly Free." You like that song?
I love it. That's a
Yeah.
great song. That's a great album. I love both part one and part two.
Oh
They're
yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
have a favorite song off of part two?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot. I don't know. I'm sorry. I have to think about that. I love
It
the
is a
whole
tough one.
thing. I mean, those when I listen to Halloween, and particularly, I listen to part one and part two in its entirety.
Mm.
Um, like I sit down and listen to the entire thing. I don't know why. I mean, because I mean, it's sort of a, it's a concept, but
It's really not.
you don't have to listen to the
Yeah,
whole thing,
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's individual songs.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, but for some reason, I listen to the entire thing every time I listen to it.
That's strange.
Yeah, I know. I'm a dork. I'm a dork.
All right, Victor, it is now your turn.
All
We got.
right. This is my number four. So I'm going to go further back in time. And I actually discovered this band later. And it was because of the vocalist and because of the guitar player. That the reason I got into this band. So it's Rainbow.
Okay.
And the original, well, not the original lineup, but one of the early lineups. So it's
Yeah.
the album Rising, and the song Stargazer, which I
No.
feel is the blueprint of all heavy metal.
No. Yeah. Yeah.
That song and the drum intro by Cozy Powell, there's nothing like that. There's no, that's like perfection to me. And I've heard many covers, and I've never heard anybody come close to what Cozy Powell did with that introduction. Like,
Really.
there's
Okay.
people that are really good, but they just don't quite get the energy and the power and the emotion that he had in the intro of that song, in my opinion.
Okay.
But
Did you hear the
that's,
White Crone version?
I have not.
Oh, I'll have to send it to you.
Okay, yeah, I have a White Crown album, but I haven't
It's not
heard.
on there. She just released a single, a separate single
Oh,
of
I
the
haven't
song.
heard that. Wow, yeah,
Yeah,
she's incredible. Yeah,
she
what a
is.
voice. Oh my gosh. Um, yeah, so yeah, it's Stargazer is one of my all-time favorite songs ever. Like, I think it's just brilliant. I think, Dio, the guitar work, Richie Blackmore's guitar work, everything on that song is just perfect. And what amazes me too is um apparently Ronnie James Dio, he would only do one take
Really?
with his vocals. Yeah, one take. That was it every time. Like, it
Really?
just
Wow.
perfect. Yeah, there's no. Yeah, I recently read Carl Kennedy's book, and he
Okay.
he talked about that Ronnie James Dio, because he had heard, yeah, that Ronnie James Dio did one take and he didn't believe it, and
Mm,
then uh shortly before he died, he did a couple songs on a Rod's album, or he did one song. Yeah, he did two songs on a Rod's album. He sang on, and yeah, one take.
wow.
And this is when he was sick.
Wow.
So, but I
Wow.
guess everything he would just do one take because he was that good.
Yeah.
And in fact, I've read, and it might have been Carl, I can't remember, somewhere somebody talked about seeing him live, and he's backstage chatting it up with everybody, not doing warm-ups, and then
Mm,
goes out and sings.
right.
Yeah, does a 2 hour show.
Yeah.
So yeah, amazing. But that song, I still, I think it's just incredible. It's still, to this, I've listened to that song probably thousands of times. I still get chills when I listen to that song.
Yeah. There's so many really cool melodies in that thing. It's just I can't explain, like the da-na-na-na, like all those parts in there. It just keeps it repeats, and it's just you wait for those parts when they come back, for the
Yeah.
chorus and stuff. So it's just it is a really, really good song. And that's shocking too. I didn't know about it with Dio doing it. But you know what? He's been, and you keep forgetting too that he was around even like longer before Rainbow,
Oh,
like
yeah, a long time.
in that
Yeah.
doo-wop band and all that other stuff that he did
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he started in the 50s.
Yeah,
So
and you just don't think of that,
yeah.
at all. And especially with Elf too. Like nobody knew who Elf was.
Yeah. Yeah.
The guy just came
Great.
out of nowhere. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's good stuff. I'm gonna do an album now, and I'm gonna do King Diamond.
Oh yeah.
Um, King Diamond scared the living shit out of me when I was younger. I was in sixth grade. I'll never forget it. A friend of mine comes into school and he goes, "I just got this album, and my mother took it away from me. It's King Diamond, the Eye." And I'm like, "Why would she take it away from you?" Like what's going on with this album? And he kept talking about how satanic it was, and there was burning witches on the album cover, and I'm like, okay, I have to get this. I wasn't even like really into that stuff. I was sixth grade, like 10 or 11ish years old, so I was still kind of scared about that stuff when I was that age. So I did find the cassette, and it had the witch on the back of it burning and everything. And then I opened up the booklet, and King Diamond's in there. I didn't know who King Diamond was, didn't know what he looked like, and then open that booklet and see him there in the black picture and he's got the makeup on his face and there's like blood on his makeup and stuff like that. I was just like, what is this guy? You know? And then I put the album on, and the Eye of the Witch comes on, and then I hear these electronic drums, and I'm like, I don't really like this. But the music was cool. The guitars were cool. I mean, Andy LaRocque's guitar solos were just awesome.
Oh, yeah.
And then King starts singing, and I'm like, oh my god, what is this? Like, how does this work? He's got that screeching voice, and then he's doing other things, and he's all over the place. And I don't know what it is, but at some point I just got like really used to listening to it, and I really started to like it, and it started to grow on me more and more and more and more. And of course, I find out there's more albums, so I have to go back and go find another album, and I find Abigail, and
Nice.
great album, right? That's like the biggest King Diamond album. I think everybody talks about Abigail. And my personal favorite is Fatal Portrait, but
Mine too.
yeah. But then I get to the album Conspiracy, right? And that's a second part of them. It's a two-part concept album, and there's so much things going on here. These albums could be movies, especially like this them thing.
Yeah,
I really
yeah,
wish it would have became an album. I mean, not an album, a movie. Because it's just with the grandma,
yeah.
and the ghosts and the tea and all this crap. It's so visual. The things that he writes on these lyrics, it just boggles my mind. And on the Conspiracy album, it's just, I was listening to it in headphones one day, and I think it was the song Victimized or something. And at the end of it, I don't know what it was, but the way he just talked about needles and pins and falling down scared the living shit out of me. I could not take this tape out of my cassette player fast enough and just throw it away. I don't know
Wow.
why. Yeah, it affected me that bad. And I maybe a couple weeks later, I felt stupid and I rebought the cassette because there was actually other songs on that album that I loved. And one of those songs that I loved so much was At the Gates, the first song on the album.
Great song.
It is such an awesome song. It's one of my top favorite King Diamond songs. There's so much stuff going on in that. And actually, too, another band, Pagan's Mind. Did you ever hear Pagan's Mind?
Oh yeah, great band. I love
Yeah,
Pagan's Mind.
they
Yeah.
they actually did a cover of this song.
Oh, that's right. I
Yeah,
forgot about
and
that.
I usually when bands do covers of King Diamond songs, I hate them because you can't replicate King Diamond's voice.
No,
It's
no.
he's not a voice that you can always just cover. I mean, Metallica did their little medley thing, and it was okay. They got it to work.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty cool.
But Pagan's Mind did an awesome cover. That guy's vocals, I can't think of his name right now, but
Nils, right?
Mills, yeah,
Nils.
yep.
Yeah, he's a great vocalist.
He is a very good vocalist, and he got pretty close to King Diamond. So, and then even the music too was just like kind of spot on. So I love that cover and the song. It's just you can hear everything. Like when you open up the album cover, you got the picture inside of there with the guy at the graveyard.
Hmm.
When you're listening to At the Graves, I can see that picture in my mind as you're listening to
Yeah,
that song because it just describes the whole scene and everything, and it's just an awesome song.
yeah. Oh, great song.
Do you have a favorite King Diamond album?
Probably Fatal Portrait. I think I'm with you. I think Fatal Portrait might be my favorite. I love Abigail. I love them. I love Conspiracy. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think Fatal Portrait's probably it's kind of my go-to King Diamond album.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I think. I don't know.
Yeah. There's so much good stuff on it. I don't even think there's a bad song on that album.
No, no.
That really isn't. But At the Graves, such a great song, and Conspiracy is not a terrible album either. The only thing I was a little bit bothered by because Mickey D, awesome drummer, because I had the Abigail Live album, and
Oh yeah,
in
that's
in
good.
that album, Mickey D does like a drum solo, and I constantly tried to like copy that drum solo because it was just so cool. I never heard drum solos before really, and I just wanted to play that thing. And then finding out Mickey D's on the album, but he's not in the band anymore. I was pretty pissed about that, because first of all, the drum sound sounded like freaking cardboard boxes. I don't know. Well, the way they recorded it sounded really crappy, you know.
Yeah.
And then to see that he wasn't going to be in the band anymore, I was pretty disappointed. But he's on the album and he sounds cool. Victor, what do you got?
Well, I'm gonna follow suit. but I'm
Oh,
going to
you
go a little
really?
bit earlier. I'm going to go with Merciful Fate.
Oh, all right.
And I'm going to go with the Merciful Fate EP,
Oh, you're
the
gonna go
very
really far
first,
back.
yeah, really far back with A Corpse Without a Soul,
Oh,
which is probably my favorite Merciful Fate song.
really?
I love that song. I love how the way it starts with that one note, and then Hank Sherman goes freaking crazy on the guitar.
Oh yeah.
And I just love the vocals. I love the bass patterns. It's like super intricate. And that song for me, it kind of is the epitome of like all of Merciful Fate in a lot of ways. It's so complex. It's not like your basic, verse, verse,
Right.
chorus, guitar solo. It's such a complex song.
Yeah.
And yeah, his vocals are all over the place. I mean, just not all over the place. They're just, this huge range is
Hmm.
what I mean, really. But yeah, same thing. And yeah, and it wasn't the first Merciful Fate I ever heard. I think the first Merciful Fate, uh, and that's how I got into King Diamond was Merciful Fate. And the first one I ever heard and it was on, it was one of those, this is a cool album cover. I'm going to buy this. I had heard of the band, but the first one I bought was Don't Break the Oath.
Okay.
Um, 'Cause I thought it was such a cool album cover. It was so
Oh yeah.
evil.
Yeah.
And, uh, and yeah, and I put it on and it was like, what the hell is this? Like
Yeah.
this guy sounds like a Muppet. Um, like I was not expect because I was a thrash metal guy, so like, what am I listening to? But I knew all these thrash guys that were into it, so I really sat down and like at first I was not sure. I'm like, I don't think I like this. But then the more I listened to it, I was kind of same with you. I'm like, and I just fell in love with it,
Yeah.
and I fell in love with his vocals, and because it was just so interesting and bizarre and
Yeah.
over the top, and it just fits the music so well.
Yeah.
And yeah, just that original lineup of that band, just mind-blowingly
But I don't know
amazing.
what the hell the original lineup is of that band. That band had so many lineups before they actually
Yeah,
recorded that EP. I mean, there was Michael Denner and Hank Sherman in there, but it was always
yeah,
like a different drummer. But
yeah,
the one that did the EP, that's the best lineup,
yeah,
for a
yeah,
while anyway.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, that's the Kim Rose is awesome, and Michael Denner and Hank Sherman. That's the one of the best guitar duos ever. You know,
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah,
and
perfect.
yeah, it's such a great EP. And I remember first hearing that EP when it was on the in the beginning album. They did that reissue
Oh yeah,
in the
yeah,
beginning
right.
album. Yeah, so I didn't realize there was a whole EP. I didn't even know. So it was cool to finally get to hear all that stuff. Victor, it's my turn.
All right,
All
bring
right,
it.
I'm gonna
What you
bring it.
got?
I got Guar.
Oh, right on.
I didn't think I was going to add Guar to this list, but just thinking about how when I first saw the song Gorgar on MTV's Headbangers Ball, and I
Uh-huh.
see these guys running around being chased by a dinosaur in these like weird dinosaur looking costumes. I'm like, what is this circus? You know? But the song was so freaking good, man. It was so heavy. The drums were like pounding, the guitars were crunchy, and the guy's voice, it was weird, but it was cool. It just fit with the music. Everything fit just perfectly. And I couldn't get that album fast enough. You know,
Nice.
every song on that America Must Be Destroyed album is it's just awesome. You know, you got Ham on the Bone, Gorgar, Have You Seen Me? That song's fucked up. That's like the first time I heard something that would be about that subject. Um, just so many good songs on this Guar album, but I'm gonna go with Gorgar just because it's the first video I saw and just how cool it is.
Nice.
Are you a Guar
Right on.
fan?
I am. I bought Scumdogs of the Universe on tape when it came out
Wow.
and loved it. And I do remember MTV. So I was in high school. I remember seeing MTV did a contest and you could win tickets to a Guar show. And it
Hmm.
was the Sacrifice Your Sister to Guar contest.
Okay.
So what it was yeah, it was like you and like, I don't know, 10 friends, 5 friends, whatever it was, but you had to have a sister and they would pretend to kill her on stage. I didn't, and I was trying to convince my younger brother to dress up like a girl so that I could get. He's like, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I love Gore. I think they're incredibly entertaining. And the fact that what's so cool about these guys is they're really well educated,
Oh
the
yeah.
original band anyway, and really good musicians. Like they all went to like Brown or something, I think, right? They
Hmm.
went to like they're all Ivy League, and they're all like trained musicians. That
Yeah.
you know, I thought that was pretty cool. And then they're like, hey, let's dress up in crazy paper mache outfits, original paper mache, and
Yeah, and
pretend we're
tinfoil.
aliens. And
But yeah, they're just such a cool band, and it's a shame that Dave Brockie passed away. So I think the show I saw, the only first and only show I ever saw them, Dave Brockie passed away maybe a year or two later or something like that. So I was
oh,
lucky to see that version of Guar. So all
nice.
right, that's gonna be the last one. I'll let you finish the show.
Okay.
Pick a good one.
All right. I am going to go with Megadeth. Um, P Cells from the album P Cells, but who's buying? So when that album came out, I think I was 15 years old. There was there used to be a music store in the mall. Well, the mall's gone too, but there was a mall not too far from where I lived, the Ogden Mall, Ogden City Mall, and there was a store there called Toad Tape, and it was an independent record store. And I remember going there with my mom, and I think we were shopping for school clothes or something, but we went and my memory's probably making it bigger than it really was.
Mm.
But the display, that album had just come out, and there was a display poster, the iconic artwork, the Ed Repka artwork, and it in my memory, in my brain, it seems like it was 10 feet tall. I don't know if it was really that big, but it was humongous. And I just remember seeing it going, wow, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And I had never heard the band before.
Yeah.
I'd heard of them, but I hadn't heard them. And then yeah, when I, got the tape and put that in, and when I heard Peace Cells, that's that opening bass line,
Oh yeah.
that opening bass solo, because I'd never really heard a song that opened with a bass solo,
Mm-hmm.
or a bass intro rather. And I just
Right.
thought, and it has this, just this cool groove to it. And then, these, politically charged, funny lyrics,
Mm-hmm.
and it was perfect, for my 15-year-old brain, like that rebellion,
No, yeah.
of, like throwing out these questions and questioning everything. And I just like, this is my song. Like, this is like, this is the song for the Meister. Like, this is great. So, yeah, so that's my pick, and I love that album. I have the action figure from
Oh
Super
yeah.
7,
Yeah.
so Vic Rattlehead, and yeah, I just everything about that album was, and that may be my favorite. Well, that and Rest in Peace, those are probably my two
No, yeah.
favorite, albums of theirs. But yeah, I just love that raw rebellion kind of, F you, and it was an F you to Metallica. And it was,
Oh yeah.
I love Metallica, but I thought that was part of the charm for me, was, Mustaine's hatred and trying to outdo them all the time. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it just was, it was just pure adrenaline and pure rebellion. I loved it.
Yeah, it's such an awesome album, and it's just from start to finish. It's just one awesome song after the other, and that band too. Just those four guys, man. They just made like
Yeah.
the best albums. After that, like you said, Rest in Peace is awesome, but those first two albums, you can't beat those first two.
Yeah. Gar's drumming. I mean,
It's
just,
just out of
that
this world. Just insane.
jazzy, crazy jazz drumming on that thrash metal album, and,
Yeah,
Chris Poland's guitar work. I mean, yeah, everything. And Randy Burns' production on that is, I don't know if they have an album that has that kind of production quality, in my
no,
opinion.
no,
That kind of raw production quality too.
yeah,
Like, he really knew what he was doing with that band. It's too bad they didn't continue with Randy after that. I think they
yeah,
should have, but
yeah,
yeah, love it. Love it.
yeah. It's great stuff. All right, that's it, Victor. Thank you very much for joining me. Where can people find you?
If you go to Brews and Tunes on Facebook or YouTube, just type in Brews and Tunes. I should pop up. Yeah. Yeah, I'd love for you to check out my stuff. It's sometimes silly, but yeah, I get a lot of great interviews, like such as Wayne. And yeah, I do a lot of beer pairings with metal and rock albums, and yeah, just try to have fun. Just try to have fun with it.
Very cool, very cool. And we'll do this again. All
Yeah,
right.
that was a
Yeah.
blast. Thank
Yeah,
you
we
for
will.
having me.
We have more albums. I got a huge CD collection. You do too, and we got so many more things that we can talk about.
Yeah, I'd love to
We'll
be
do this
back on.
again.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. And everybody, thank you for listening. And we'll be back next week at 10 p.m. Eastern on freeworld.fm. Don't forget youtube.com/RatsReview or ratsreview.com. Every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, we'll be live on YouTube. And we will see you guys next week. Until then, bye-bye.